there, amazing listeners. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Transform Yourself, the podcast that is all about empowering you to shed those stubborn pounds and embrace your best self. We are your hosts, Kacy and Tyler. You know me as the Calorie Deficit Queen. We have lost a collective 130 pounds, and we use the 4 M's of fitness, mind shift, meal shift, micro habits, and muscle building to create both attainable and sustainable fat loss. So whether you're a fitness enthusiast, maybe you're a beginner, maybe you're curious about making positive changes, Transform Yourself is your go-to source for inspiration, information, and a good dose of motivation. And before we get started, I have to admit something.
What is it?
Tyler and I binged last night.
The topic for this came up unexpectedly last night.
We binged not on food. We binged on a Netflix documentary. And if you have not watched it yet, we are talking today about the documentary Fit for TV. And this documentary, Fit for TV, it's all about NBC's The Biggest Loser. And we're going to break it down for you. We're going to give you our thoughts and our commentary on this documentary on The Biggest Loser. We're going to talk about what really went on behind cameras, the long-term consequences for the contestants of The Biggest Loser, what we can learn from it. And I have to admit that
it's crazy.
This documentary, I feel like it left pits in our stomach. It left me with tears.
You started crying last night.
I did.
I think you were kind of, I don't know if part of it was anger.
A part of it was anger. I was so angry when I was watching this documentary. I highly recommend watching it, but also listening to our commentary on it.
Give it a watch. It's still very good.
It drew a lot of emotions out of me for so many reasons. And I guess that's because I have kind of dedicated everything I do to helping women, in their 40s and over, lose fat in a healthy way.
In a reasonable way.
In a very reasonable way. And this show reminded me of where we were
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Not even, it started 20 years ago, but it ran for 17 seasons.
Yeah. In a good
seasons.
way, it reminded me of the thought process so many overweight people have. But let's get into it. Let's talk about the contestants and the setup first. I want to mention that in this documentary, there were producers of the show being interviewed, and the producers were admitting that they wanted contestants that were at a low point. Yeah. They wanted contestants that were overweight and unhappy. In fact, one of the producers said, listen, there's a lot of overweight people out there that are happy, but we don't want them as contestants. We want the overweight, unhappy people. We want the vulnerable people. We want the people at their low point. And that was the contestants they were looking for.
When the dude flat out said they wanted fat and unhappy people over fat and happy people, I was like, oh my God, this is deep. I had no idea. Obviously, I knew it was a game show.
Right.
And it's a reality TV show in the early 2000s when that was at its peak.
Right.
And so, I get it. It's a show. You have to make it palatable for people to watch. But man, I didn't know it was predatory. I didn't know it was exploitive.
Listen, it's not lost on us that this is NBC and that the producers were there to make money and that they needed the most, watch-worthy contestants that they could get, which is, why they did what they did. These contestants, they were isolated. They went to what they called the ranch. And while they were on the ranch, they didn't work, they didn't parent, they didn't cook. They lived with a set of trainers. They lived with chefs. They had 24/7 to focus on their bodies. And listen, okay, I get it. It was all for a TV show, and the TV show did a great job of making money.
Yeah.
It did create a very false environment. They were completely removed from their real life. Of course, they succeeded under those conditions. But could they sustain it back at home?
That's what's crazy to me. There's so much about this that's crazy.
What they did is they participated in extreme exercise and starvation diets. The contestants and the trainers all admit that they worked out 6 to 8 hours per day. Can you imagine working out 6 to 8 hours per day?
I've never even at my peak of doing physical stuff would have been, I guess, in football in high school.
Yeah.
And you're not working out or doing physical stuff for 6. I just don't understand.
There was one time in my life where I worked out 6 to 8 hours per day. Now, I rode my bicycle across the United States in 2014. And so, yes, I was on a bicycle 6 to 8 hours per day, about 6 out of 7 days per week. So yeah, there was a point in my life that I did that. I was in my late 20s. You also built up to that too. I did build up to that. It was an endurance kind of thing for me to do. We had a mission. It was a 7-week bicycle ride from Washington State to Washington, D.C. But yeah, that was an extreme. I wasn't doing it to lose weight. I was doing it to raise money for the American Lung Association. That's neither here nor there, but that's not a norm. That's a very outside of the norm thing to do. And I can't imagine at any other point in my life that I would train 6 to 8 hours per day. I'm not a pro athlete.
and certainly not walking into training for 6 hours a day when you are totally out of shape, wildly overweight. Like I just don't understand how any professional
taking somebody from 0 to that would be
0 to that's like the essence, because I always feel like I harp on like 101 versus 201. It's like, it's not that 201 doesn't work, but it's like you're not ready for that yet.
Yeah, they took them from 0 to 501.
They took them from 0 to graduate level PhD level work, and it's like they haven't done. There's all of the other back work has to be done. They don't understand anything yet.
Both the contestants and the trainers and the producers, they all admit that the contestants were eating as little as 800 calories per day. 800. I'm going to say that 800 calories per day. Y'all, this is the energy needs of a toddler, or below the energy needs of a toddler. Yes. It is going to, that many calories a day, that is going to wreck your metabolism. If you're older, it's going to wreck your hormone. Even if you're not older, really, it's going to wreck your hormones. It's going to wreck your leptin. It's going to wreck your thyroid. It's going to create muscle mass breakdown. And
I don't that to me is maybe the most egregious of everything. I don't know. It's hard to pick one, but like, so 800 calories if they only ate chicken breast, which is about as lean, pure protein as you can get.
Yes. If you ate 800 calories of chicken breast, go ahead.
Is like 106 grams of protein.
That's it.
A day. That's it. And that's if you're eating 100% of your calories
out of chicken breast. And they were not doing that.
That is still not really enough protein, especially if you're not putting in, if you're putting in 6 hours worth of actual work. And if you're overweight. That's not enough to sustain you.
Right. I will say that after watching the entire the documentary Fit for TV, it is 3-episode series. After watching it, because trainer Jillian Michaels was not a part of the documentary, she declined to be a part of it. Trainer Bob Harper was. Tyler and I found a YouTube video of Jillian Michaels in a podcast talking about her take on being on The Biggest Loser.
Yeah, it was a podcast with Thomas DeLauer. So if anyone wanted to look it up, that's the one I was watching.
And in this podcast, she admits that the contestants were eating 800 calories a day. And then she goes on to say
that exercise is the driver of everything and your diet just keeps you in neutral. But basically saying exercise is more important than diet, period, end of story. And it's just like, I don't even know how to respond to that, because it's so easy to mathematically prove it's untrue.
Yeah, so Jillian Michaels admits on this podcast that she believed for these contestants that it was all about exercise that was going to get them to where they were going. However, she contradicts herself, because she talks about how fat loss is all about calories in, calories out. And then which I guess she's
true, but
right. It is true. I mean, you do have to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose fat, but then she goes on to point out that exercise was where it's at, and that food, their diet was just there to help them maintain, where it was the exercise that was helping them lose the fat. Maybe in their case, if they were it's insane to me that somebody with an education would say that out loud, because I'm going to call it like it is. It's bullshit. That's what it is. That's complete bullshit. And it makes me angry that she would say that out. Feel free, go look it up.
It's not even that deep into the episode. Yeah.
And
I was very surprised by that statement.
It's insane to me. We had to rewind it and watch it again, because I did not believe that she actually said that.
Like, I'm trying to be the most charitable I can. And it's just, it's hard for me to even, I just don't understand what she's even getting at. Like, when you can say it's ultimately calories in versus calories out, but then saying that diet's not the most important thing.
Right. Diet, I say it all the time. Diet is the driver of fat loss. You could literally not exercise and still lose fat with diet. Now, that's not the best way, but here's the deal. Diet is always going to be the driver of fat loss. And any trainer who says otherwise is full of shit.
Look, walk into any commercial gym in America right now. Look at every dude who's my age who works out. We are all like this kind of like, you've got muscle, but like, where's that muscle? The muscle's underneath layers of fat.
Yeah, like, unless you're dialing in your nutrition.
Yeah,
like abs are made in the kitchen, people.
Yeah,
they're not made through doing crunches. I mean, they are a little bit, but if you want to see those abs, you've got to dial in the nutrition.
Exactly. Every single person on the planet has abs. They have ab muscles. It's, can you see them or not?
So what was the 6 to 8 hours of exercise doing to these people? It was increasing their cortisol. It was stressing out their hormones. It was creating muscle breakdown. Oh, another thing that Jillian Michaels said was that the contestants, even though they were in an 800 calorie deficit, did not lose muscle.
I don't even.
Again, bullshit meter, off the charts, made me angry. Yeah. Couldn't believe she said that out loud. That is not true. When you are in a calorie deficit, you are going to inevitably lose a little bit of muscle. Can you mitigate that? Yes, you can, but
not on 800 calories.
Not exactly. Not when you are overweight and on 800 calories. You're not going to mitigate that.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at any pro bodybuilder when they're going into their big cut before a big show.
Correct.
Every single one that they lose muscle mass. It is known. It is discussed.
Both of my Form Fit coaches, they are both competitive bodybuilders. And listen, they both know that during their cut phase, they are working on losing as much fat as possible with mitigating muscle loss. They know muscle loss happens, but they're working on the, minimal muscle loss. But it still happens. We can't pretend like it doesn't.
Yeah, because that's a very fine line to walk. And it's definitely not something you do when you are putting people on a crash diet and then boot camp workouts for 6 hours a day.
For sure. And all of that over exercise that was, impacting their joints, and it was leading to injuries and overtraining syndrome. And some of the contestants, even wrote to the show later saying, hey, I have back injuries because of this. So just thinking about the idea of running on fumes at 800 calories a day and then forcing yourself through 6 to 8 hours of workouts, that is not transformation. That is punishment. And in one infamous scene, one of the contestants, I think it was like the very first episode of her season, she was running a mile. Yes, it was on the beach. I'm certain that running a mile on the beach is probably really tough, even for me.
Yeah. Much as a person.
And then she collapsed.
Yeah.
And they admit she collapsed from rhabdomyolysis. Of course, I'm probably pronouncing that all wrong. People call it rhabdo. And what that is it's extreme exercise breakdown of muscle tissue so fast that the proteins are going to flood your bloodstream, and then it's going to clog your kidneys, which is going to cause kidney failure, electrolyte imbalance, heart arrhythmia, and possibly even death. The lady on the show,
this was challenge 1.
She had to be life flighted away from this scene.
There's so much about this that I just don't even understand, because I only know of rhabdo like from CrossFit, and I'm not a CrossFitter, never done CrossFit, but I'm aware of it, and it's something that I think people develop over time from extreme workouts.
Yes.
So if a person who's never been trained and is overweight, and you immediately, I just don't
push them to a limit.
That on the very first thing that this happens, it's one that never should have happened, but two, like, what kind of screening were y'all doing? Because clearly she had to have had like some other underlying things.
The same lady, and if you watch the documentary, the same lady, she was clearly working out of pure desperation. She had a failing marriage.
It was heartbreaking.
It was so hard. Like, that was the part that, like, it makes me want to tear up right now thinking about how it puts a pit in my stomach thinking about how desperate people are to lose the weight. And maybe that's because sometimes I hear these things on, Zoom calls, even the first time Zoom calls I have with clients that are so desperate and are saying, Kacy, I will do anything. I'm willing to do anything to lose this weight. And watching it is, it's heartbreaking to me. And especially when you see a woman in such desperation, but the path that woman was led down was not necessarily the right path for her. Now, she, in the entire documentary, they ask her a question. They ask the same woman who collapsed, would you do The Biggest Loser again? And she can't answer that. Yeah. And I remember watching and thinking, she's still unhappy with herself. And it just makes me really sad.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, and it kind of made me kind of realize maybe some of the stuff that you go through with clients on a fairly often
daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where one thing that Jillian Michaels did say that I do think is true is that if you weigh 400 or 500 pounds, or you're seriously overweight, it's probably not like you're just unmotivated. You just like, there's a bigger, deeper issue.
There is, for sure, a deeper trauma of some sort.
And there's like some stuff that you have to work through in your head and in a notebook, and like through like self-reflection and a different kind of exercise and different kind of work.
Thought work. It's called mind shift.
Yeah, like, well, to me, like, I'm going to go like a little form fit pitch. It's like, why do these people not even recognize that? Like, I feel like this is such a novel, new idea.
Well,
right?
I mean, for them, it was because it was about entertainment. It was about exploiting people's weak points. It was about that. It wasn't about actually helping the contestants. I really right. believe that. And contestants, y'all, they were forced into temptation challenges. Y'all,
I didn't know this.
I forgot about this part, but they would have the contestants in a room full of donuts and pizza. And of course, since they were on the ranch, they were separated from their families and their children. And during one of the temptation challenges, the person that ate the most calories would get to see their family. Like that's
so basically,
I can't.
If you want to see your family, you have to undo the work you're doing through another super unhealthy, like beyond like physical unhealth. Like that's got to be like a mental, just mind F.
Right.
That you're going through all this, and then now today, well, I'm going to eat a whole pizza from Little Caesars on this show that's supposed to be about weight loss. That I've got Jillian Michaels screaming in my ear.
Right.
Like, what the hell is going on?
They showed contestants having to do a challenge where they were moving bread from one spot to another, but they had to do so not using their hands, using their mouths.
Yeah,
it was showing overweight people in a very harmful, stereotypical, struggling, sweating, food addiction type way that it made me angry watching that. I mean, they showed the overweight people. They showed one woman literally sticking her tongue in a chocolate fountain. Not to say that I haven't wanted to do that myself, because I have.
A chocolate, like a chocolate fountain you see at a wedding.
I would love to lick a chocolate
literally
fountain.
Drinking chocolate directly from and you also can't tell me that a producer didn't put her up to that. Because
they had to have.
No normal human being
is going to do that.
No, unless you just got rescued from a war internment camp, and this is the first food you've seen in months. Like, you're not doing that. That's not real.
Right? And the whole screaming at the contestants, Jillian Michaels and Bob Harper, Jillian Michaels specifically, calling them names and using humiliation as motivation. Look, shame-based tactics do not build healthy habits. That's why these people didn't build healthy habits, y'all. They were forced into extremes with shame-based tactics. They created disordered eating within these contestants. They created anxiety. They created more trauma. And the contestants even admitted that they developed eating disorders after leaving the show. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
And Dr. Robert Huizinga, he
seems like the most redeemable person on the show. For
sure.
Like, he seems like he was trying to be an advocate for these people. And I think he pretty much figured out, like, early on that this was not good. And he was there he could be the only person who could maybe really help these people. He
actually tried to increase the calories of the contestants from 800 to 1,200 or 1,500 calories, but the trainers pushed back on that. So the show's doctor that was to be the medical over the contestants, and the show's trainers were at conflict. The doctor also was anti-caffeine, overconsumption, and the trainers were giving stackers or caffeine pills to the contestants to suppress their hunger.
Which, it's like, I'm surprised that more people didn't stroke out on that show, because you take people who are probably pre-diabetic, have hypertension, who have never exercised, so they're living in poor cardiovascular health. You throw them onto an extreme diet, so that's putting a stress on your system that's not used to. Putting them in 6 hours of boot camp workout.
And 800 calories, and it's a recipe for disaster.
Oh, and then,
recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you're giving them 500 milligrams of caffeine in a pill.
Yep.
That, at least with coffee, like, it's going to kind of slow you down because you have to physically drink it, and you're not going to want to. But if you can just slam a pill...
Right, that's going to be 6 times as much caffeine as a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and it's instant coffee. That is like so dangerous. Like, really.
It was never about their health. It was about ratings. It was about shock value. That's what it was about. And here's the thing, y'all. one of the contestants, Danny Cahill, he lost 239 pounds in under 7 months. 239 pounds in under 7 months. That is more than 8 pounds a week. That is medically unsafe. And the New York Times, they came out with an article where they tracked 15, and I know that's not a lot, but 15 contestants post The Biggest Loser show, and 14 out of 15 regained most or all of the weight, and many of them gained even more. And y'all, their metabolic rates were devastated. And here's the thing, the show focused on exercise because that was, watching the trainers jump on the backs of these overweight contestants and having to do squats, or that was entertaining. That was, a moneymaker for them. And I get that. It was a moneymaker. But they focused so much on exercise. They focused very little on diet. And when they did, they put them through those temptation diets that I just talked about.
That's still so crazy to me.
Right?
Like they literally made them do like relay races with donuts in their mouth.
Wild. I can't imagine like being a coach that thinks that that's okay.
Yeah.
But listen, not once did they address mind shift nor micro habits, right? It was all about diet and exercise. That's the meal shift. That's the muscle building. And even so, the muscle building section, y'all, that part of it was a lot of cardio. It was a ton of cardio. And yes, they did lifting as well. I appreciate that they did lifting. The difficulty with keeping that weight off, of course it was difficult. They were not set up for any success. They were set up for extremisms. And contestants after the show, one of Danny Cahill specifically, he asked for aftercare. He called the show's producers. He asked for aftercare for the show. In other words, when the show is over, could the contestants get nutrition coaching? Could they get therapy? Could they get communication support? The producers basically said no.
Yeah.
We're done with you.
That poor guy, so he lost 240 pounds in 6 months.
He's gained it all back.
But also he had the skin surgery. So he had like all the excess skin
removed.
And he had all that removed, and then he gained all the weight back.
It broke my heart.
That's oh my God, like you poor man, like you have just, you've like literally scarred your body.
Yeah. These people were desperate when they started. The hard part is that they left broken with no safety net.
Yeah.
And it goes against everything that I'm working on. I maybe that's it. I've worked so hard on building a program that's so supportive, that is so anti everything Biggest Loser, that knowing that this happened to real people is what is so heartbreaking.
Because I almost look at it as we watched a documentary about Bernie Madoff ripping people off, or about this scam or this crypto thing ripping people off. Like I kind of look at this as the same thing. You had people getting exploited for money, and a couple people won 250 grand.
Or the talk show. What's the talk show you were talking about that this reminds you of?
Oh, yeah. Well, this reminds me of Jerry Springer.
That's it.
How that's also a fantastic documentary to watch, just from like a train wreck perspective. Like, it's just crazy, the insanity of that show. But the point was, they hit gold.
And they weren't in it really to
and then every week you have to so like season 1's a hit. Well, next season we have to up the ante, and they're not going to pay people more. They're just going to make them do more ridiculous shit on TV.
Right. The next season we have to go to more extremes, and the next season we have to go to more extremes, and they continue to do it.
Yeah, this season you're going to do hiking in Bali. You're going to go run a mountain or whatever.
So Bob Harper. Oh man, some of the things that man said.
I was very surprised.
I wanted to jump through the screen. A couple of things he said. And I'm going to quote him here. He said, "Losing weight is the easiest part. If you struggle with weight, you'll never get that monkey off your back." In other words, he's talking about the idea that people who have lost the weight, we're talking about people like me. I struggled with weight, yo-yo dieted. But losing weight, he says, is the easiest part. And if you struggle with weight, you'll never get that monkey off your back. Here's the thing. I think what he was trying to say, I think what he was trying to say is that,
as you can.
Is that there is no finish line to weight loss. That is true. That part is true. But the whole part about you'll never get that monkey, it's not. I actually have a freedom now that I never had before because of the way in which I lost the weight.
Yeah.
I don't have that monkey on my back, so to speak, anymore. I don't have the fear of gaining the weight back. I actually have allowed myself more calories now than I've ever had before because of the way I've built muscle through the entire process. So what he says is not true. It doesn't have to be that way. You can find freedom from food and from thoughts and from hating yourself, and you can find freedom from all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you do it the right way.
You can't boot camp your way. And not that I'm like trying to talk trash about boot camp workouts. It's just, I don't think that's the most effective way.
Right.
Basically, you're doing
HIIT type workouts.
Yeah. Like that's like, they're fun. I mean, I think they have a place like we were talking about earlier with a group, and it's like camaraderie and support. And like, there's like, I think it's kind of almost like running.
Yes.
Where it's like, it's better for your mental health than your physical health. Like I would imagine for the average person, if you did like a power lifters type workout where you focused on just big core compound movements.
Yes.
And then a couple of
progressive load. Boom.
And then just do that for 2 years. You will dramatically change your body comp.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
You'll have plenty of muscle. You're not going to hurt. Everything's going to be better. Tying your shoes will be better.
Yes. Another thing that Bob Harper said, and it just, oh my gosh. Okay. So Bob Harper, he had cardiac arrest in 2017. And the show, at first, they were trying to say he had a heart attack in 2017. Now, honestly, maybe if we gave him the benefit of the doubt, a cardiac arrest and a heart attack are not the same thing, by the way. Heart attacks typically happen based on a clogged artery, those kind of things.
It's a mechanical issue, not an electrical issue.
Correct. And cardiac arrest is electrical with your heart. So Bob Harper, his heart stopped. He had cardiac arrest. He was in a gym when it happened. Somebody did CPR on him, much like Tyler had cardiac arrest in 2023, right? Mm-hmm. But when they're talking about this in the documentary, he paints a picture as if his survival is somehow comparable to the contestants' struggles, and how he now totally he gets it. He understands the struggles and how he has to change, how he has to eat, and how he has to eat and work out better now. And I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, back up, because I believe that headline on the article that they showed on the documentary just said that you had cardiac arrest. That's an electrical issue.
There could be so many other things, Kacy. Like, there's so many things that could be. I mean, this is 2017, so this is before COVID and pandemic. Nope. So you can cross all that off the list. So that's good. But who's to say he hasn't been partying? Who's to say?
I mean, I don't know.
There's a million different things. Like, it could be. We don't know the whole thing, but for him to sit and pretend that
now he gets it,
and like have this kind of trying to have like this kumbaya moment, and then like double down on all these things you did to people,
just wild,
is crazy to me.
Wild,
like zero empathy from him which I was very surprised to see more empathy from a producer than him.
He doubled down on everything that happened on that show, and he is happy about it.
He said he stands by what he did.
And it's crazy to me that anybody in the fitness industry could stand by the actions that happened on that show. Yeah. Jillian Michaels, she does admit that she was complicit, and she did criticize the idea that the contestants lacked mental health support.
Yes.
And she did realize that she was profiting off the show, and she had to leave for those reasons. I give her a little bit of credit for that. However, everything that she said in the podcast later just was...
Well, it's also funny that you find Jesus after 17 seasons.
I mean, right?
That seems a little sus to me. It's like, well, I've already made like $30 million and all these licensing deals, and like I went from no one to like the most famous trainer in America.
Right.
And so now I'm going to find my morality, which I don't know. I don't know enough about her to really make that judgment call. To be honest, like before I watched all this morning, like I had a very positive view of who she was. And I don't know anymore.
Yeah. In the final episode, they address Ozempic and GLP-1 medications, which is so funny because when we were watching the very first episode, I hit pause and I said, I guarantee you in episode 3, they're going to talk about Ozempic at the end.
You said that like in the first 5 minutes of watching the documentary last night.
Yes, I did. I called it. I was like, oh, this is where they're going with this. Yeah, did not disappoint.
Yeah.
So several of the former contestants are, admittedly on. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And feel free to go back and listen to our what's it called? The peptide episode.
I don't remember. GLP 1 in a million. No, that would have been a great name.
That would have been a great a great name. Maybe our next one.
Maybe get T-shirts made with that.
Right. I'm not against GLP-1s.
It's a tool. It's a
glucagon like peptides.
Yeah, it's a tool in the toolbox.
But several of the former contestants are now on these drugs. They've lost the weight again because of these drugs. Jillian Michaels, in the podcast that we listened to after the documentary, she actually opposes GLP-1s, Mounjaro, Ozempic, any of that, tirzepatide. She argues that the long-term side effects are unknown. And listen, I agree with her on that. She's right. The long-term side effects are not known. And will we know them, give us another 5-10 years? Yes. With Gen Pop on these drugs, sure.
And we might have a different opinion in 10 years when we really know all of the data.
Right. We might find out this is great.
But I also think that there is a lot of... I think it's a weigh the good with the bad, because if you can drop 80 pounds, 100 pounds, and you're not walking around with all that weight, maybe the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's made dramatic life improvement.
Yeah. My 30-second pitch on that is basically, as long as you're also working on your behavioral habits and working on muscle building, then I am all for it.
And then
having an exit strategy for it.
Yeah.
So the contestants kind of describe, the idea that these GLP-1s helped quiet the food noise. What exactly is food noise? So Ty actually asked me this question, and I thought it was funny because it was the first time we had ever had the conversation about food noise, which it's wild that we just now had that conversation.
And it's like, I've never even really heard of it until recently because of, there's another much more prominent fitness podcaster than us, named Jordan Syatt, talking about how he experimented with it. And he's already a very fit person, experimenting with it and talking about how, he's
a former binge eater.
Yeah, he's a former binge eater. He's lost a lot of weight and is a very, very fit person now. And he talks about how taking it got rid of the food noise. And it's like, I've never heard that term before until very recently.
And the funny thing is that when we were talking about it earlier, I had admitted that I feel like I am somebody who lives with food noise, and I still live with food noise. I am not on a GLP-1, nor have I ever been. I'm not saying I wouldn't at some point if I needed it. At this point, I don't need it. I tried to describe what food noise was to Tyler, and in my mind, it's almost as if my brain is constantly thinking about food, and I'm thinking about food. When I'm eating food, I'm loving the food. As soon as the plate is empty, I'm wishing I had more. Now that's normal, that people, even without food noise, probably wish they had more. But then even when my stomach starts to feel the full signal, like I'm full, I'm already thinking about my next meal or my next snack, or what that's going to be, or what time, when I'm going to eat that, how much of it I'm going to eat. So it's as if my brain is acting on its own, thinking about food consistently, when the rest of my body is giving me signals of you're full, you're good. The difference between living with food noise and being successful, and living with food noise and not being successful, is that I have created systems. I've created systems in my life so that I am in tune to my body almost over my brain. Mm-hmm. I am in tune to that full signal. I reflect on that. I ask myself questions when I'm headed to the kitchen. Am I actually physically hungry? Is this an emotional thing? It's something that I feel like is, always existed in me. But Ty, you say that you don't live with food noise. I don't understand. In fact, I'm very sympathetic to that, because the closest thing I can even begin to relate to is, I remember when I drank, like after you have that first cold beer, it's like I could drink thousands of these. It's like, where's my, that's like me and a cookie though. Oh my gosh. Because it would be like, I would drink a 6-pack and then just be like, shit, I'm out of 6-pack. I'm out of beer. Like, yeah. It's like, brother, you've had 6. It's, yeah. Why did you need 6 to begin with? But like, that's the only thing I can even understand. But the difference is, I don't have to drink. Right. You have to eat. Correct. So I guess that's what makes that infinitely more difficult, because you have to, it would be like having to dabble in cocaine. Like having to have just a little bit, have just the right amount of cocaine in your life. Don't have too much. Exactly. Don't overdo it. You got to have cocaine balance. Exactly. And so I'm very sympathetic to people who struggle with that, because I can't even imagine what that would be like. It's I feel like with the right, again, I'm going to go back to mind shift, with work on your thoughts and work on systems and behavior, those things, you can overcome your food noise without a GLP-1. I can tell you, and I admit this, like at the very, very beginning of my fat loss journey, after I had quit drinking alongside Ty, I joined Noom. And I know most of you probably know what I'm talking about. It's, I don't know that it's as popular as it once was. But I think this was like in 2021 that I did that. And I was a part of Noom. It was just an app that would send me something every day to read, like a little article to read. And I would, weigh in every day. And Noom was actually the first, it was the first diet that I had tried that ever even dabbled to address mind shift. It was the first time I had ever even looked at habits. It was the first time I had ever even heard, oh, wait a minute, weight loss is not linear. You mean I should expect that I'm going to gain weight for a couple days, and then eventually, if I just keep at it, I'm going to lose weight? And it was the first time mindset was part of the foundation. And so for probably a good 3 months, I was like on it. I was reading those articles. I was doing the thing. And that was kind of a big start for me. But here's the thing. I didn't stop there. Yeah. As I lost the weight and I got little nuggets of information from Noom for those first 3 months, that's when I was sold. I was like, that's the difference.
And
This is the difference between this diet and everything else. The difference is that, and I get it. I'm giving a great commercial right now for new, but the difference is that I'm going to now really look into this mind shift thing. I'm going to really look into behavioral science. I'm going to really look into habits. And that's when I looked into Atomic Habits and read James Clear Atomic Habits, and then highlighted it as I read it the second time, and then listened to it on Audible, and then dug into The Gap and the Gain, which is another book I refer a lot of clients to, or read Chasing Cupcakes by Elizabeth Benton. This is when I really dug into the mind shift and the micro habits, because those were the pieces that were missing. And I'm going to say it over and over and over and over and over again. Those are the pieces that are missing from your fat loss. If you are a yo-yo dieter, I promise you, I know why you're a yo-yo dieter. I met with a woman yesterday who joined our program. I'm so excited for her. She's awesome. She is going to see some amazing results. I knew after 5 minutes of talking to her what her problem was. I knew that she was an all or nothing thinker. I knew that she's somebody who would focus on one data point over an average of data points. I knew that I know what it's going to take to get her there. And I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight, because I am not one to say, listen, we're going to lose 239 pounds in 7 months. We're not going to do that. We're not the biggest loser, but we are going to do it right. And we are going to open the door to the 4M fit pillars: mind shift, meal shift, micro habits, and muscle building. We're going to change how you think. We're going to put in the reps for having new thoughts, because you can't just have a new thought once. You have to put in the reps. You have to have that thought again and again. We have to practice that. We are going to work on meal shift, simple food swaps that you can make that are going to make a huge difference long term. We are going to create sustainable food prep habits that you have, give you small daily wins with those micro habits, strength train for lasting change with muscle building. It is going to be very different than The Biggest Loser. The Fit for TV documentary, it left me shaken up, but it also fired me up, because
yeah, you definitely got fired up last night about it.
I got fired up about it because it is just proof that weight loss does not work when it's built on punishment, shame, spectacle.
No, it's self-improvement.
Yeah, it works when it's built on compassion, education, consistency, love for yourself. If you feel trapped in your yo-yo dieting, if you feel trapped in your all or nothing cycle, there is another way. And I built this program to be sustainable. I built this program not on extremes. Thank you for joining me today, and make sure that you check out thecaloriedeficitqueen.com. Check out my group coaching. On September 1st, I am starting a new program called Mastering Consistency. That's the name of it. It's called Mastering Consistency. So if you're the woman who you start a diet and you're on it, and you are on it for like 1-2 weeks, and then boom, you find yourself off of it because, well, you went out to eat, you messed up, you went on vacation, you messed up, whatever. A wedding happened, and then boom, all of a sudden some kind of event happened, you're off. Or if you're the type of person who you're like, oh, girl, I am so good Monday through Thursday, and then Friday hits and happy hour, and then I'm just like, I ruin it every weekend. Okay, this challenge is made for you if you are either of those people, because sustainable results, they come from showing up consistently. And I am going to teach you little habits on how to work towards consistency and what that actually looks like. If you are looking for weight loss resources, if you need to calculate your calorie deficit, if you're looking for low calorie cookbooks, you can find everything at thecaloriedeficitqueen.com. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Transform Yourself. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, share the love, and until next time, keep shining, keep smiling, and keep transforming yourself.
Adios.